Here's what we're buzzing about at NewsBeast. Keith Olbermann's current problems at current. We've got politicians descending on New Hampshire and apparently Casey Anthony. But first, our detailed cheat picks. And Rebecca's just happy about the future.
Casey Anthony is descending on New Hampshire? That's just what this Republican primary needs.
I think it is what the Republican primary needs. I also think that it's the most boring video I think I've ever seen in my life.
Well, don't blow up my cheat, John.
Damn it! Okay, fine. You get first that pick then. Bring us to World.
I'm just obsessed with Rick Perry quitting the race and then unquitting the race when I get that he didn't realize Michelle Bachmann was going to quit and that now he thinks his odds are somehow better. But after watching that speech by him in Iowa on Monday night in which he fumbled that letter for what appeared to be practically 10 minutes.
Oh, it was interminable.
It was unbelievable.
And it was weirdly like praising him and he was just reading this letter about how great he is. I found it very uncomfortable.
It was like he failed to highlight the relevant portions and then just got lost in it. He couldn't remember which part of it he meant.
And had not prepared a speech.
Very difficult for the Texas governor. Rebecca, what's your
Casey Anthony has reemerged, although apparently the video was taped on October 13th, presumably in commemoration of my birthday. But so there's this grainy black and white video of Casey Anthony that's emerged on television today.
In a tank top.
In a tank top with some sort of something hanging down, emphasizing.
Could you describe that something a little bit further? Because that really could be anything.
A necklace. She's wearing a necklace. She's got sort of like an early Kate Gosselin cut, and she's rambling about
Well, that was
nothing.
current when she went to prison.
Right. So she talks about really like nothing, which is, I think, a disappointment, although the morning shows were making hay with it. But she talks about how excited she is to have a computer, how excited she is to have a phone, how she finally has things that are hers.
But she seems almost medicated, too.
She seems heavily medicated, or stoned, as another member of our team suggested.
Explain to me two things. Why does anybody care?
Here at Beast TV, we're going to suggest everyone
because people care. Sure. People care about Casey Anthony the same way people care about The Bachelor. She's a reality television show.
Just
arguably
a child murderer.
Yes,
but
with a dead person.
Yes, quite likely a child murderer, but she.
We'll talk to you later.
She was. Excuse me. She was found not guilty. So now she's just this curiosity.
She's a celebrity.
Yeah.
I was going to do my cheat on the descent on New Hampshire because that's what really matters. But that's also why the Campaign Chronicles exist. So instead, we're going to do the military cuts.
Cross-promotion a little bit, John.
See how that was
synergy.
Done. So synergy. So the military cuts are an example of something that seems boring but are hugely impactful. Basically, we're talking about changing our entire strategic sort of approach to the world. And what Panetta's doing, though, is actually seems pretty smart to me, and what Obama's insisting on is even smarter. We're cutting across the board because of the failure of the super committee in part, right? We have these sequestration cuts. But we're not cutting our carrier impact in the Pacific because Obama's so focused on Pacific power in the 21st century in China. I think that's fascinating and important.
How do you think it's going to play in the election? Not to go straight to politics.
Well, look, I think everyone, Romney last time campaigned on 4% of GDP going to military spending. It's a completely arbitrary number that people just circle around because of this Reagan halo. I'm sure people will say he's weakening our military, and I'm sure they'd do the same damn thing if they're at all serious about deficit and debt. But as we've seen, people just want to demagogue it. They don't want to deal with it. Damn it.
Damn it.
Damn it.
Damn it.
Let's talk about Keith Olbermann and current
Speaking
TV.
of angry anchorman.
And speaking of angry anchorman, let's talk about Keith Olbermann, who, lest we forget, like, when the dude was a sports anchor, his colleagues had a hard time getting along with him. So, are we surprised?
No, he's like a victim in search of a cause, and eventually he found it. I mean,
that is the best
Keith
line
Olbermann
ever. A victim in search of a cause. That's good.
Is so oppressed everywhere he goes. He just can't get a fair break.
No matter how much money he makes.
Yeah, and look, the dude is a talented anchor, but clearly at this point, it's not them, it's you.
Right? Giving audience what actually happened.
Oh, okay. Very good point.
Very good point.
Relevant. So, Keith Olbermann, left MSNBC after reading a short story for millions of dollars to be the sort of backbone of current TV, Al Gore's liberal television project. Months later, he is already causing problems, refusing allegedly to anchor their Iowa caucus coverage, which would make all the sense in the world. So he's denying there's any problem, but he's evidently absent from Iowa and their primary coverage, thereby bringing up what the hell's wrong with Keith Olbermann, why he can't get along with his colleagues.
Yeah, and he left MSNBC really after horrible, like, on-air fights, just terrible back and forth.
And being
I'm talking to Susie, but yeah.
But you can respond because that's okay.
And he just was a terrible. He just threw these tantrums all the time there.
But when ESPN had its like anchor reunion, he was the only former anchor not invited. I mean, come on, these are like sports guys. They're not holding grudges. Like that's and he again really talented and I think been important in some respects. Although he was also on the cover of Wingnuts, I think, for sort of creating that cycle of incitement.
So let's just take a leap and assume this is the beginning of the end for Keith
at
Current, because the way MSNBC played out, it began very similarly with stories in the New York Times and elsewhere about what a disaster this was.
Good point.
What is Keith's next job?
I think
shouting
car wash.
in
Pizza
Central Park.
Pizza salesman?
Yes.
With the internet, even Casey Yancey's sort of meaningless, meandering rambles can have resonance. So I think, he just...
I think, you know what I think? I think presidential candidate.
Really?
I think, or not presidential maybe,
He's
but
the
I
next
think
Al Franken?
he'll run for office. He's the next sort of like Lou Dobbs, who's going to kind of dangle his political prospects and he'll get, some small 0.5% of the vote.
I think there's a high likelihood. All right, final word.
Good morning.
Really? Okay.
I'm going to go with, I like Pizza Man for Keith. Delivery man.
The legacy of Herman Cain continues.
Take your pizza and shove it.
Exactly.
I'm going to go Meltdown, because Countdown, Meltdown. Ananyway, that's all
Nice,
for us
I
at
like
NewsBeast
that,
today. We'll see you tomorrow.
Countdown, meltdown. Nice going there.
Thank you. Thank you very much.